Hello and welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen and today we are going to make a Christmas classic, and I've made this for the past couple of years using this fragrance today, Peppermint Stick. We're going to do a red and white striped candy cane inspired soap today. This is from Wholesale Supplies Plus. This smells fantastic. It behaves really well in soap and it doesn't cause discoloration. It's got that minty, sweet scent, everything you want a candy cane to smell like. So let's talk about the colors. I'm going to be using, for the white portion, even though this fragrance does not discolor, I'm going to be using my titanium dioxide. I have this pre-mixed and I'll talk about that when we get into the video. I'll tell you exactly how I do this. And then for the red stripe, I'm going to use my Trial by Fire. This Go-To Red is just the perfect red color for this project today. And I'm also going to talk about how I'm going to pour these layers nice and straight, hopefully. But I will show you how I make my whole batch of oil, my whole batch of lye, and I split it into little individual bits, and I pour each layer and mix each layer at a time. And that way I'm sure I get a nice smooth finish in between each layer. I'm thinking about doing a gold mica line in between, but I haven't decided if I want to do that. If I just want to do red and white, keep it just super candy cane simple, I don't know. I'll think about it. By the time I get my oils and everything out, I will have made my mind up. So let me get everything prepped and ready to go, and we will talk about how to make straight lines in this candy cane inspired soap today. All right, we are back for soap additives, and today it's just going to be the kale and clay because I want this to not have any speckles at all from the silk fibers or the oats. And so this soap will have no silk and no oats because I want a really crisp white color with no speckles at all. So kale and clay is going to go in there in a minute, but first let's talk about how I'm going to get my layers nice and straight. So what I have here are very inexpensive plastic measuring cups. These are, I think, 2-cup measures. No, these are 36-ounce pitchers. I got these at Walmart. You can get them on Amazon. They're super inexpensive, but I have 8 of them. So what I have here is all of my oils, and the fragrance is already in here. So I'm going to add up the weight of the volume. So all of my oils, I'll add up the totals, add the fragrant oil, and I'll add the amount of kale and clay in there. And then I've got my handy dandy calculator, and I'll take that number and divide it by 8. And I will pour the oils off into these little pitchers, however much that is. So each one will have 1/8 of these oils in them. And I'll double check the numbers on my scale and make sure they're all even. And I will do the same exact thing with the lye. So I add the sodium hydroxide plus the distilled water plus the sugar volume, and I get the total number, and I divide it by 8. And then I take little cups and I split the lye into 8 individual portions. And so I will mix each little portion, 1/8 of the lye, 1/8 of the oil, into each bucket, and we'll do white red or red white. I haven't figured out which goes first, but one color and then the other, and we'll just mix each little batch at a time. So it's tiny little micro batches going in for the layers, and that is one way to get nice crisp straight lines. There are other ways to do it, but this way you just have time. You don't have to rush in that final that final layer isn't going to be getting thick on you. And I think doing it in bite-sized pieces is just a really low stress way to do layers. So that's what we're doing today. So all that being said, I've got to mix my kale and clay in here and get these oils split into 8 equal portions. We are back. I have successfully divided all of my oils into 8 individual equally weighed out portions, and my lye into 8 individual equally measured portions. And now just use a calculator, and that's how you do it. Now these are each little micro batches. I'm going to mix one little mini batch of soap and pour a layer, let it firm up. Then I'll mix the next mini batch of soap, and that's how we're going to do it. So let's talk about the titanium dioxide. I've talked about this in previous videos, but I'll go over it again. I got this, a shaker bottle with the stainless steel beads. They're like ball bearing beads. in the bottom to help keep things fluid. I got this from Be Scented. This is water-soluble titanium dioxide, and I mix it 1 part TD to 2 parts of water. That's what's in here, pre-mixed. It makes it easy to measure out. So we've got everything ready to go. And so now I'm going to push everything off to the side and get to mixing our first little micro batch. All right, we're back for our first little micro batch of soap here, and I'm going to do a red layer to begin with because I want white to end on the top. And I'm going to measure each scoop here so that each batch will have the same amount of colorant. I'm not going to eyeball it or guesstimate. I'm going to use my little measurement here. This is a 1 teaspoon measurement, and I'm going to go full on this. And that'll be, each red layer is going to have 1 teaspoon of red. So I want to get the color mixed into the oil first, then we'll add the lye and blend till we get a nice trace. Pretty simple. And this is why I call it my low stress layers, because when you're doing each little micro batch, you don't have to rush and worry about it speeding up over there. Plus this peppermint scent goes really slow. Peppermints notoriously are slow movers. So this is a very low stress soap. So sit back and relax as we pour some layers. We are back. It's the next day. It's been about 24 hours. The top is very simple, but I think it's really pretty. And yeah, so simplicity. You know, peppermint sticks aren't fancy, but they're great. This smells so good, by the way. Let's get in there and see how these stripes came out. We are back with the lovely Olga, and it's reveal time. So far, I think the stripes look pretty straight. There are a few little, blips in there, but overall, I'm thinking it's looking pretty good. And I really like the simple top. I don't do simple tops very often, so I like it. I don't know that I'll do them very often anymore, but anyway, I think it's very pretty, and it goes along with the theme. So I want to talk about something when we get in here. Let's take a look. All right, there they are. And there are just a few little wigglies, but overall, those are pretty straight lines. And I did kind of rush it. This peppermint stick, that's right. It's a slow moving fragrance. This took so long to make this batch. It was probably about 2 hours. I'd pour one, go do the dishes, go make some soap labels, pack an order, come back, pour another, and I rushed a few of them. I would say with a faster moving fragrance, this wouldn't be so tedious, but it's worth it because this smells exactly like a candy cane, peppermint stick, everything you want, sweet, minty, it's all that. So it's worth it, but it's pesky. You know what I'm saying? So here is another thing that I have going on. I used table salt in my lye solution instead of sodium lactate to harden it up for unmolding. It did come out really clean on the sides, no trouble, but it feels a little soft to me. So I like my sodium lactate. I don't know, if you've used salt as a hardener, I would love to hear your ratio and if you like salt better than sodium lactate to harden your bars up. I would love to hear some input from you all about that. But for me, it's just okay. But if you consider the cost of sodium lactate versus the cost of table salt wins hands down. So it is an inexpensive solution. And again, this did unmold beautiful today, so no issues there. It just doesn't feel to me quite as hard when I cut it. It was a little softer feeling than when I used the sodium lactate. So yeah, I would definitely love to hear from you all. Let me know your opinions on sodium lactate versus table salt. We're going to get into our next loaf, and there's not a lot to see, it's just stripes, but I did want to show you one of the things that I'm doing now is I am taking my fresh soap trimmings. So when I bevel the corners on here, and when they're still fresh and pliable, I'm going to use my little moon press. This is a large size, this is a small size. Because I made a double batch of this peppermint stick, I will use my large size moon press. And I've showed this in a previous video, but I'll talk you through making those soap scraps into a really sweet little soap flower. I guess that's a flower. Anyway, it's very simple, and it makes a wonderful little hand-sized bar of soap. I even like these little teeny ones. They're beautiful guest soaps. So we'll talk about that when we get to it. Let's cut into our next loaf, and I'll probably just fast forward through the last loaf because there's not a lot going on. These are just stripy and smell minty and all that. It's fabulous. All right, here's the middle loaf. Those stripes look pretty straight to me. I am very happy. Love it. All right, so I'm just going to keep cutting here, and after I do the beveling, we'll come back and talk through those little moon presses, how we make a little soap flower out of the scraps. All right, here's another little trick you can do with these adorable stripy shavings off of the soap is take something round, a pencil, I have this chopstick, and twist it around and you will get a little peppermint twirl. Last year I made a peppermint cocoa soap and I made a whole bunch of these. It's a little painstaking, but how adorable is that? I'm making these for photography for this soap when it's all said and done because it's so cute, these little stripy twirls. But, you know, you can get really creative with these. It's kind of like a soap dough right now. There we go. So cute. So I'm making a few twirls, then we're going to get to making our soap flowers with these beautiful shavings. All right, here we are. This is a double batch of my big molds of shavings. So I'm going to use the larger press here, and you need some cling wrap because that really helps it unmold. I've tried it without and with not much luck. So if you've tried it and you've had luck with that, good for you. But that has not worked for me. So I'm using my cling wrap, and I just get enough out here. Cling wrap is always so tricky to work with, isn't it? I don't even like using the little teeth on there because it pulls it all funny. So I'm just going to cut off what I need here. There we go. And now set that off to the side, and we're going to smoosh this together into a ball. And because these are fresh, they are going to mash together really easy. You don't need to have wet hands or wet them down at all. Just the fact that they are fresh soap. This would, I think, only work if your soap was maybe 24 to 48 hours, if it's still really pliable. If it's getting more dried out, oops, I stuck on the wrap. You could maybe try adding a little bit of water to make it sticky. I have not done this with older soap shavings. I don't imagine it would work very well, but it might. So I'm not saying don't try it, but I'm just saying it's going to have some challenges clinging together. So, all right, I've got this big sticky ball here. You know what? You could put that on the curing rack and that would be adorable. Kind of looks like a ball of yarn, but we're going to go ahead and press it. So I've got my 99 or 91. This is 91% isopropyl alcohol. I don't know that the 91 and the 99 make a big difference. I'm just spritzing this so that this will release really easy. You don't have to do that, but I like it. There it is, and I'm going to mash it down just a little. And it's as simple as plopping it in here. And this is very full. So I'm going to just sort of mash it with my hand and then fold over the cling wrap so it doesn't stick to the wood chopping block here. And press really hard as you can. That's the best thing you can do to get a nice clean impression. Like, I'm using as much body weight as I can on here. All right, and then just pop it out. That's, these little moon presses are so handy like that. And let's flip it over and open it up and see what we've got going. It's a busy pattern. You can hardly see the little flower mold on there. So, okay, this isn't the prettiest because it's so detailed. It's got tiny little details and this is very busy, but the point is this is now a really nice little guest soap. So I'm going to put this on the curing rack with my bars, and it'll harden up and cure along with them and be a perfect little guest soap for your bathroom. I'm sorry that impression didn't come out better for you to see. It's such a busy soap. Well, anyway, you get the gist. Let's get to stamping.